All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're breaking down a playbook that's all about flipping the script on automation, turning it from just another productivity tool into a real core strategic advantage for your company. But first, let's start with a question that might feel a little too real. You've invested all this time and money into automation to make work easier, faster, smarter. But be honest, does it feel less like a streamlined future and more like your team is just drowning in notifications, alerts, and fragmented data? Yeah, if you're nodding along, you are definitely not alone. And that feeling, that disconnect, brings us to something we can call the automation paradox. It's this bizarre situation where the very tech that's supposed to help us, to free us up, actually ends up becoming a hidden burden. It's technology that, instead of helping, just gets in the way of our most important work. And the crazy thing is, these aren't just little annoyances. They have real strategic costs. We're talking about fragmented attention, where nobody can truly focus on deep work. We're talking about a huge increase in cognitive load that just leads to burnout. And here's the kicker. It actually leads to slower and much riskier decision-making. Over time, this kind of thoughtless automation can completely erode team trust and build up a massive, paralyzing technology debt. So, okay, if that's the traps so many of us fall into, how do we climb out? Well, the answer isn't just another shiny new tool. It's a totally new mindset, a whole new strategy for how we even think about automation from the get-go. And this right here is the core idea. It's called Decision First Automation. It's about flipping the script entirely. The goal is no longer just efficiency for its own sake. Nope. The new primary objective is to protect and to enhance the single most valuable and, frankly, most fragile asset your organization has: high-quality human judgment. So how does that actually look in practice? Well, this matrix is the perfect way to visualize it. Just take a look. In that top left corner, you've got your low-impact, high-frequency stuff. Think data entry, scheduling. That is your prime automation zone. Go wild. But then look at the bottom right. High-impact, low-frequency decisions, like your company's strategic plan or who you hire for a key role. That is a strict protection zone. That's where you keep automation out to make sure human oversight and judgment are front and center. The real magic is just knowing the difference. Okay, so you get the concept, but how do you actually build an organization that lives and breathes this way? Well, it all comes down to three foundational pillars that turn this whole strategy into real action.
Pillar number one is all about improving your decision velocity. And let's be super clear, this is not just about raw speed. It's about making better decisions faster, because you're being really intentional about where you spend your energy and where you apply automation.
So the process is pretty simple. You start by mapping out your key decisions, just like we saw in that matrix. You identify all those low-risk, repeatable tasks, the stuff that just drains everyone's mental bandwidth, and you automate the heck out of them. What that does is free up your team's most precious resource, their attention, for the really high-stakes calls that are going to define your company's future. And once you've freed up all that mental energy, that leads us right into pillar number two. You need to consciously build what the playbook calls an attention architecture. You're literally designing your work environment to protect focus. I mean, think about it. Your team's collective focus is your single most critical, finite resource. So you have to audit your entire tech stack for those attention drains, the noisy apps, the endless notifications. And then you have to be ruthless about shielding those high-value areas where deep thinking has to happen. You have to start treating simplicity not as a nice-to-have, but as a powerful strategic weapon. Which, of course, brings us to the final pillar. You have to actively reduce your technology debt. You can think of this as all the accumulated weight, the clutter, the digital junk drawer of redundant, complex systems that are secretly slowing your whole organization down. Now, the process here is pretty straightforward, but let's be real, it requires serious discipline. You map out every single tool in your company to find what's redundant or just not pulling its weight, and then you get rid of it. The golden rule here: always prioritize simplification over adding one more bell or whistle. Every automation choice from now on should make your life simpler, not more complex. Okay, we've got the mindset, we've got the three pillars. Now for the really important part. How do you actually bake this into your business? Let's walk through a clear 5-step plan to get it done. So here's how it works. Step one, you just get a clear picture of what's going on by consolidating your processes and decisions. Then steps 2, 3, and 4, that's where you put our 3 pillars to work. You apply decision velocity, you optimize that attention architecture, and you audit your tech debt. But step 5 is absolutely critical. This can't be a one-and-done project. You have to establish a continuous review cycle to make sure your automation strategy is always evolving right along with your business. You know, nothing drives a point home like seeing it in action. So let's look at this tale of 2 companies. On the left, you've got a SaaS company that automated its financial reporting. Simple, right? But that freed up their CFO to focus on high-level strategy. They preserved judgment, accelerated growth. Awesome. On the right, an e-commerce retailer used a new AI hiring tool, and it backfired. It totally undermined team trust and wrecked morale. 2 companies, 2 very different automation choices, and 2 radically different outcomes. The stakes are high. So when you pull all of this together, what's the big takeaway? It's that when you do this thoughtfully, automation stops being just another tool on the pile. It transforms into a genuine, sustainable competitive advantage. And honestly, this quote from the playbook really just says it all. The goal isn't just to be fast. It's to be faster, smarter, and safer, all while keeping your operational integrity, your team's trust, and the excellence of your decisions intact. It's about not having to choose. So look, if you walk away with only one idea from all of this, let it be this, the number one. Because this entire strategy, everything we've talked about, is built on protecting that single, most important asset, your team's high-quality human judgment. You get that right, and everything else will fall into place. And that leaves us with one final thought, a question I want you to take back to your team, maybe even this afternoon. Look at how you work, and really ask yourselves, where is our team's most critical judgment being undermined by our technology right now? The answer to that question, well, that's where your journey begins.